I think if you're going to relocate an opera or a play in time and place, you have to have some good reasons for doing it. And it's mainly, I think, to remind people that this is a timeless story, not some ancient fairy tale, that it's still relevant to our own lives and situations, and to also to recapture the shock of what these works were like originally. With most classics, we forget that when they were first produced, they had an enormous impact on the audience. You think of the first night of Rite of Spring that caused riots, for instance. Puccini's operas often had that response. Bizet's Carmen was howled down and jeered at. Synge's Playboy of the Western World, the audience actually tore up seats from the theatre and threw them at the actors. So that's the kind of response you want. These plays and operas were shocking, they were outrageous, they amazed people, and that's why they became classics. About 100 years later, people forget that and think, oh, that's some mouldy old classic and we've seen it before, ho-hum. And so you need to do something to recapture that original shock and surprise people and say, this is not what you thought it was, this is something else. And that's why one chooses to relocate. In this particular case, I've been rather shocked to hear people describe Tosca, or as one music critic did, as a shabby little shocker. It's not. It's a masterpiece. It's a great dramatic and musical masterpiece. And people need to disregard, talk of it being a melodrama or some sort of musty old story. And I thought to reset it in Rome in 1943, the German occupation of Rome, would bring that home to our audience, that this is a true story. It happens many, many times over throughout history. It happened during the World War. It's happening now somewhere in the world. These events of a tyrannical regime, resistance fighters being hunted down and executed, women being forced to compromise and give sexual favours in order to protect a loved one or save a member of the family. These things are still happening and always have done during war. But to relocate it in World War II, that will be in the memory of many of our audience. They've either lived through it, or their family have, or they've seen the footage, documentary footage, movies, books. It's very familiar territory. And hopefully they will then bring that story into focus with that experience of our own lifetime. During that occupation in 1943, the Italian government simply abandoned the city. The Germans marched in and took it over. And there was a 9-month reign of terror between the Nazis and the fascists in controlling Rome, and people like Caravadossi and Angelotti were hunted down, and people like Tosca had to try and make do. So I think the story fits like a glove, and that's why I've chosen to reset it as authentically as possible in that period.